Good afternoon, everyone. It's February 15th, 2019. Now, many of you know that my old channel was banned, and it was banned because of a video I did showing all the inconsistencies in the witness testimony concerning the Parkland shooting. And I simply went through and showed how one teacher's account of the event was far different than and other witnesses. The teacher said she saw a person dressed in full body armor, helmet, all, with a rifle she'd never seen before, firing it down the highway, or hallway rather. Then you had the other witnesses, one girl who said that she was standing next to Nikolas Cruz in line as they were beginning to evacuate, and she heard shots fired, right, while Nikolas Cruz was in line with her. Now, and the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of events happen, right? And for people to get a clear idea of what actually happened, they must look at all the angles. We can take 9/11 as an example, right? There are so many anomalies involved with 9/11. It's hard to not think it was a setup. One of those anomalies is the molten steel poles that kept burning for a long time after the event happened. Now, there's only a couple of substances that has that ability. Then, of course, you have the witness testimony of the lady saying that they had been doing work on the inner core of the World Trade Centers, all of them, right? And there's a lot of anomalies. Well, the thing is if multiple stories or testimonies don't mesh together, and then on top of that you have physical evidence like the speed of the fall, how quickly the buildings fell down, the amount of debris left, it turned into powder, right? The idea that, or the reality that large steel girders were hurled a good distance away from the buildings. The idea that the jet fuel combusted on impact, and that's logical, right? I mean, after all, it's all going to burn up as soon as it hits and a spark occurs. So, when you have all these anomalies, it's only logical to conclude that there's something wrong with the story. And this holds true for any of these events that happen. Take the wildfires, for example. There's some major anomalies there. The fact that there were homes cut with laser precision, meaning it was cut with a laser, that makes you wonder, why were those fires started? They called it a campfire, and listen, I make fires all the time. I build some big-ass fires, and they've never spread beyond where I burn them. I burn, right? They stay more or less within the confines. I mean, you might get a straggling leaf here or So a little bit of grass there, but overall, the fire does not spread like crazy. And we've had a drought here. It's been really dry here in the south. So for that fire to spread the way it did, it had to be started in multiple places. And what about that shooting that happened in the very same place the fire happened, right? A lot of anomalies with that one too. I mean, we can go through each one of these events and pick apart the anomalies to find the truth. And yet, somehow, some way, by doing this, you are called names like conspiracy theorist, right? I mean, isn't that what a detective does? You know, they show up to a crime scene, they view the physical evidence around them, and then they interview witnesses if there are any, and then they come to a conclusion based on the information they have. And yet, this profession is held at a high regard. These people are not conspiracy theorists somehow, even though they're doing the exact same thing some of us YouTubers are doing. We're looking at pieces of the story and we're like, what the fuck? This doesn't add up. And the Parkland shooting, 9/11, those wildfires, that shooting, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's been a lot of events where there's been a hole after hole after hole poked into the official narrative. And after a while, after so many holes are poked into that narrative, man, you gotta disregard it. You have to use logic and say, you know what? It's not adding up. Something else happened. And I may not know what that something else is, but know enough to know something else happened. Take this national emergency with Donald Trump, for example. You didn't think I was going to talk about that, didn't you? I think probably there's something more behind this than a fucking border wall. I mean, we could have had this wall many times over. So there's got to be something more to it. You know, I friended Joe Biggs. You know who he is. He's that former Marine, I believe, staff sergeant. He used to do some work for Alex Jones. And even Joe Biggs, he's gotten to the point where he sounds just like all the other sheeple. Trump, 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 Trump. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand the need to follow. Do you even know how or why these families have gotten power and maintained it for all these centuries? And a lot of people are going to be like, you're crazy, dude. There's no way. But this is the truth of the matter. And I touch upon this a little bit in other videos, okay? I don't talk a whole lot about it because it's, for Christians, it's a hard pill to swallow, especially. And for everyone that believes wholeheartedly in Darwin, well, it's hard for them to swallow too. But ancient Sumerians say that, well, first you should know that they're responsible for our way of life. Okay? Everything. How the government is run, how laws are made, all of that shit. School, you name it. Okay? But one thing that is rather interesting about these ancient Sumerians, and this is what makes me believe them, is the fact they never take credit for inventing any of it. Not the plow, not horticulture, none of it. They give the credit, and the reason why this makes me believe them is because of ego, all right? I mean, who doesn't want to take credit for some cool shit they've invented, right? But they didn't. They didn't take credit. They gave credit to the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, right? So these beings, the Anunnaki, they come down here, and they immediately, they're so obsessed with power. They were. That's all they cared about, is power. Who was going to rule? Well, it became a problem because they promised certain powers to a god called Marduk. That is Enki's son. Enki, and I'm not going to get into all the characters' names. I'll do a video about that later. Just know that they promised Marduk and other gods certain things. Some gods were in control over certain industries, like metal smelting and agriculture and all that stuff. Others were in charge of land masses. Okay? So, these families, they all trace their lineage back to Noah. And they feel, as a result, that they have divine right to rule. So they have to keep the earth divided up amongst these Anunnaki families. And that's why things are the way they are. I know it's hard to swallow. And there's other things that would make one believe that probably the Sumerians were telling the truth. For example, the fact that they call Earth the 7th planet. You're like, wait a minute, aren't we the 3rd or something like that? No, we are the 7th if you're counting out in. Okay? Only beings that were coming from that direction would count it that way. I mean, there's so much more. So much more. I've been digging into the Sumerian shit for a while now. For a while. And it seems that these people, and they are people, we are made in their image. These people are the creators of all of the megalithic sites. All of them. Not just the pyramids, not just the Sphinx, all of them. And as a result, the families have branched out over the years, the millennia, and they've maintained their power in their own personal sectors, in their family sector of the planet. The Earth was divided up a long time ago, and that shit still stands to this day. A lot of people like to say that the pyramid with the all-seeing eye in it is something to do with Lucifer, and it has nothing to do with Lucifer. You know what it is? You know what that eye is? It's a fucking satellite. It's the eye of God. A satellite is the eye of Anu. And I could go on and on and on, but the thing is these people have had control, and they will do anything in their power to maintain that control, including stage events or exploit events or allow events to happen. You know, like 9/11, the bombing there in Oklahoma City, these mass shootings, so on and so forth. And I know it's hard to see how this is, but it is. That is the way it is. It started with Marduk, and it's been that way ever since. I thought I would share a little of my Sumerian knowledge with you, and point out the absurdity that a normal person, can't look at events and witness testimony and come to their own conclusion without being called a fucking derogatory name like conspiracy theorist, loony, or conspiracy nut, or whatever you want to come up with. In my case, a lot of people, because I'm skinny, people like to call me a meth head, even though I've never done meth a day in my life. Anyway, thought I would have a little chat with you. And because I've been slack as fuck on making videos lately. And I hope you all have a good day. Kill the state. Live free.